It's recording. Hi and welcome to this program called Meeting with Mahboob. In this episode, we have another lawyer, Mr. L Ravichander.
Hi.
So introducing him is first thing is a very eloquent speaker, and secondly he is a very eminent lawyer, designated senior counsel of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana High Court, now called as High Court of Hyderabad, Judicature at Hyderabad, and more about him is he is a MC or facilitator, or sometimes you can say the manager at many events, and also he takes a lot of law lectures, and also he judges quiz competitions and moot court competitions, and other than that, adding more feathers to his cap is his journalism. So he writes articles, and I think he's also associated with a lot of top newspapers, and also he is a film critic. So we would be trying to interview him on multiple things like this. So welcome to this show, sir. Meeting with Mahboob.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on this show, sir. So first thing I would like to ask is like your name is Lakshminaran Ravichander. So Ravichandran, I think.
Ravichander.
So is this are you like from the Tamil community?
Oh, it does make a
Yeah.
difference. Does it
Okay.
really make a
No.
difference?
Yeah.
I still remember I called myself a social bastard when the Telangana agitation was going on, because I was born and bred in Hyderabad.
Right.
And I think my father came in during the Nizam's railways to Hyderabad,
I see.
though my mother tongue is Tamil.
Right.
The Puritan in Tamil will murder me if he hears my Tamil. So will the guy who knows Telugu murder me for speaking in Telugu.
Right.
I end up knowing only
But still you're a polyglot, we can say. English, Hindi, Tamil and Telugu and all, right? Okay, and the next thing is, sir, like I would like to ask you is like, what is your education? Where were you educated? Your school, your college and all
Well,
that?
I did all my education in Hyderabad. I'm
Okay.
a Nizam collegian and proud of being a Nizam collegian.
Right.
I've been here all through, except
Right.
that I did 3 years of law from the Madras Law College.
Oh, I see.
This was way back, more than 3 decades ago, 75, 78,
25.
when I told those days only Delhi, Chennai and Mumbai
Right.
were known for very famous law schools.
Right.
And since Chennai was the nearest and I was far more familiar with the language,
Right.
Dad those days said,
Right.
little boy goes nearby.
Right.
That's how it was.
And about your schooling, sir?
Schooling St. Patrick's,
St.
and
Patrick's.
then I did my intermediate from Railway Junior College.
Right.
Incidentally, I must also tell you that there were only 2 junior colleges, or 3 junior colleges those days,
Okay.
1972 was, I think, the second batch when we moved from PUC to intermediate those
Right.
days in Hyderabad. In fact, those days there used to be these huge jokes on 10 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 11 plus 1 plus 1 and all that. So, we were the earliest batches of students who systematized this 10 plus 2 plus 3, and
Right.
Railway Junior College was probably one of the few known junior colleges in
Right.
Secunderabad those days.
Right. So my next question would be, sir, like you are known to have amazing eloquence in your speaking skills and moderating different programs.
I don't know if I'm
What do you think is the what were the elements or variables from your growing years? What helped you to have so good communication
Okay,
skills?
firstly, I'm not very sure I'm a very eloquent speaker,
Right.
but if let that go by.
If I insist.
I'd like to believe that one of the things that make me speak the way I do
Right.
is a lot of reading that I have done, and I think a
I
lot
see.
of people in the 70s and in the 80s did a lot of reading
Right.
in compared to what happens today.
Right.
You can go into my other room, you can go downstairs in my house. My house is stocked with books.
Right.
I still remember when we were students and
Yes.
we used to win debates, or when we used to win quiz competitions.
Right.
They would give us book coupons, and
Wow.
invariably we would buy books. Buying books was a passion with
Wow.
us. Reading was a passion
Right.
with us. Even tonight, I may have a very, very, very busy, tiring day, but I don't
Right.
go to bed without reading for about half
Right.
hour. I think that helps.
That helps.
It helps in more ways than one. First, it helps you drop names and quotes.
Right.
Second, it also gives you a kind of a confidence because you've read somewhere. There's a sense of deja vu.
Right.
about everything that has happened or is
Right.
happening. So
Right.
you connect to something immediately,
Right.
and therefore it does.
Right.
Thirdly, I'd also place my whatever you call eloquence
Right.
to two speaking clubs of which I've been
Oh, wow.
president.
Wow.
I was the president of the Young Orators Club. I was the president of the Benjamin Franklin Memorial Club.
Wow.
Of both clubs, and I think a weekly exercise, Saturday at York's and Sunday at Ben Frank,
Right.
ensure that these skills remain sharpened. You know,
Wow.
you make a mistake here, you make a mistake there, you get a good whiplash from somebody who's evaluating you. That's
Right.
there,
Right.
so you know you have to be in
Right.
trend.
Right. And where are these two institutes?
The Young
sir?
Orators Club meets at the YMCA Secunderabad. Even now.
Secunderabad.
It started
Okay.
in 1969.
Are they still working now, sir?
Yes, they do.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh,
a
okay.
proudful organization, and I hardly know of a great speaker who's not associated with the Young
Oh, I
Orators
see.
Club.
I see.
And the other is the Ben Franklin Memorial Club, which also started in 1969. This
Right.
works from Malkajgiri,
Right.
and they are on a revival right now. And in fact, next week they are doing a revival. They're starting off a branch at Aurora College.
Right.
They've started a young wing at Malkajgiri again to get the youngsters
Right.
cracking into this area.
Right.
I think these two institutions have played a huge role in my speaking
The
skills.
development of the skills. So, do you take any courses or workshops on communication or something, or would you be interested to do something like 1 day or 2 day, seminars or something?
Well, three things.
Right.
One is, I believe that if people can join these two institutions,
Okay.
York's and the
Okay.
Ben
Established
Franklin,
ones.
these two, it's a wonderful opportunity for them to learn and learn
Right.
constantly.
Right.
Two, so far as workshops are concerned, I'm known for my inertia.
Right.
You call me to come and speak at a workshop, I'm more than willing to, but I don't think I have that wherewithal to go start one, organize a
Right,
workshop
right,
and
right.
conduct it. Incidentally, I have a world record for speaking for the longest number of hours in the world.
Right.
But I don't think I will start a workshop on my own. But having
Okay.
said that,
Yeah.
anytime, anywhere, anybody wants it, it's one of my passions to give back to
Right,
society this,
right.
whatever I've got from them. So anytime, anywhere, I'm
Right.
free to help.
Right, sir. The next thing is, sir, did you have any lawyers or politicians in your family?
No,
No, no politicians.
No.
So you are a first generation lawyer.
I'm a first generation lawyer and hopefully the no generation politician.
Yeah, no generation. And what made you take up law at that time? Lack of options, or your interest in social
It was not
sciences?
lack of options. I remember I got a seat in Jawaharlal Nehru University those days for a post graduation in two faculties, which was unheard of in the
Wow.
1975s.
Wow.
Baru Sanjay was 1 year my senior. I stayed in his room before I went for my interview at the School of Economics.
The writer of this book.
Book on
Yesterday I
Manmohan
was
Singh.
reading the review of this. I
Yes.
wanted to read that and just put my.
He was
had
also
a
my
glance.
debating partner. So,
Wow.
no, it was not lack of opportunities.
Wow.
I was very clear.
Yeah.
Those days what used to happen is
Right.
the left went to JNU, the right went to
Right.
IIMs,
Right.
and among the better students.
Bipolar. Okay.
So, and I had a university rank,
Right.
so it was no way that I didn't have opportunities or
Right.
offers.
Right.
But somewhere I had this illusion
Right.
that if you're a lawyer, you're your own man,
Right.
you can speak up,
Right.
you don't have to bend.
Right.
I had all these childish
Being-
Grisham ideas of being a lawyer, and that
Right.
is why I think I took to it.
Right. Before you started studying law and after you completed your education, at the end of your LLB, how much did your perspective on law change?
Well, there was not too much time after I completed my law and took to my profession. In fact,
Right.
I started my profession a month or two even before my results
Right,
came.
right.
And probably I'm the only lawyer I have heard of.
Right.
I've read biographies of great judges and lawyers. I'm
Right.
the only lawyer I knew of
Right.
who argued a case on the day he was enrolled at the bar. Most youngsters now
Amazing,
take at least a
amazing.
year or so.
Amazing.
I had the fortune of my senior going and asking for a passover in the court on the day I was getting enrolled.
Right.
And I argued a case
Right.
about half an hour after I was enrolled.
Wow.
But my perspective of the legal profession was cynical throughout.
Right.
And it hasn't changed.
Right.
It has become far more cynical today than it was 30 years ago.
Right. Right. And the next thing is like you studied 3 years at Madras College. You said, like, how was the college life there? How many subjects did you study, and like what kind of professors did you have?
Oh no, very mediocre.
Mediocre.
I don't think that's the way you teach law.
Right.
We were hundreds and hundreds of students.
Right.
Law those days was an excuse for doing nothing.
Right.
And that's what we were doing. Literally, we were doing nothing. I don't think I learned anything serious in law school.
Right.
And by and large, I think this is happening with a lot of other professions. I see borderline engineering schools, law schools that do the same even today.
Right.
I see interns coming to do intern with me in law, and I'm not sure they're very
keen on
geared up with
right.
concepts of law, leave alone the intricacies of law.
Right.
So I think education begins after you finish your college.
I see. So, like, have you, maybe you have, I'm guessing that you have encountered people from the NLUs and from the state universities also. Like, what difference did you find in them, like,
from
NLUs and the state universities?
Oh yes. What happens is there's a very definite difference.
Right.
The guys who come out from national law universities are very elitist.
Right.
They're very research oriented.
Right.
They're very academic.
Right.
And high funder. In contradistinction, the ones who don't come from there, who come from the regular law schools, are very diffident. They have poor body language. They are not sure of themselves. But they're willing
to learn.
And they have more at stake, and therefore they are willing to push themselves at the bar.
Right.
And I've seen some success stories of people who've not done law school from the best of institutions and are doing well.
Right. As it is being brought out a lot of times that present the top lawyers of the country right now have never studied in the NLUs. NLU started about 20-25 years back. So like you are an example of a state university college, and also it is said that a lot of professors, the academics of these NLUs, almost a major percentage of these academics come actually from state universities. So about the next question, what I want to ask is, sir, like what options did you have after you studied law? Like only litigation or what?
Well, we had, okay, I came from a middle class family.
Right.
I took to law because it was a passion with me.
Right.
I did apply for a couple of government corporate jobs, one or two of which I got. In fact, for a short while, I headed the legal department of a public sector company.
Wow.
And I was, again, a very young man heading the entire legal department of a huge public sector company.
Wow.
I had about 8,000 employees, and I was heading the legal department.
Wow.
But it didn't suit my spirit, so I said thank you very much, and even before I could say ECIL, I was out of it. So my options were very limited.
Right.
They were far more limited than they are today.
Right.
And today I think the options are kaleidoscopic.
Right.
They're so widening.
Right.
And that's not only about law. We need to understand that the world throws up more options today for everybody, and we've stopped pigeonholing people. The spirit, the horizons are wider.
Yeah. Slotting, as you labeled a long time back. So coming back to this thing, sir, like did you start with a senior when you graduated?
Oh yes, I did. I started with a senior who went on to becoming the Advocate General. He became the Advocate General. His son-in-law became the Advocate General. And I think that was one of the only offices from where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 6 designated senior advocates from the office, Mr. S. Venkat Reddy.
Right.
And I owe to him
largely
what I had learnt in the profession. I also was with 2 Advocate Generals as a special government pleader. I think the post of a special government pleader was created for the first time when I took over that office.
I see.
So it sounds nice when I look back at it, but those days it sounded very ordinary for me.
I see.
And yes, I think I was with some giants in the profession.
Right. So when did you start your independent practice?
Now that was another advantage I had when I joined Mr. Venkat Reddy's office. he told me and made it very clear to me that being a part of his office never stopped me from doing my own work,
Right.
which is something I replicate in my office to this day.
Right.
And when I joined his office, it was late 78.
Mm-hmm.
And in 79, his son-in-law joined. His son-in-law got married into the family and
Right.
then came into the office.
Right.
So he and I together started practicing together.
Right.
So I think as early as in 1979, I started doing my own work.
Right. Very good. And like the next question would be, sir, like as you said, like you were doing parallel work, independent work, and also the office work. So my question is, what was your source of learning other than your senior? Like, today we have a lot of legal journalism coming up with about 10 to 20 websites are talking about events, moot courts, and legal information. Like, every minute you have the latest Supreme Court judgment at your fingertip. So how difficult was it, and how did you?
I don't know, when you walked in, if you noticed, I had an AR on my table.
Yeah, I had a glance. Yeah.
Even now, yeah.
Yeah, I had a glance.
It's I still read it.
Okay.
I think
This is
what used to help us those years, and
Yes.
this continues to help me.
I see.
While I do ask my juniors and my office colleagues to help me out with research,
Right.
I ask advocates who engage me in matters to do their research and come to me.
Right.
But most of the research we did in
Right.
our years was through what we would then call the quinquennial digests.
Okay.
It was very archaic, it was
Right.
very slow, it was
Right.
very time consuming.
Right.
But it was also, I think the whole world today has moved from research to search.
Right. Right.
Those days we researched, nowadays we search.
Research.
So I think researching helped us broaden our horizon, because what happens is when you're researching, you get to know collateral facts, collateral law.
Right.
Today when you search, and you search with a decent amount of
Right.
acumen,
Right.
you get exactly what you want, and therefore everything else stands filtered out naturally.
Right.
As a consequence of which,
Right.
knowledge which is incidental and broad-based doesn't come.
Right. I understand. So you just get the specific point.
Correct.
you-
That was not happening then, so it was easier to know a lot more things then.
I see. I see.
Which stick to your head at a certain age, and
Right.
we also had this bad practice of writing down judgments. I still do.
Oh my God.
And one of the lessons I learned is 10 times reading is 1 time writing. So if you write down your judgments,
Wow.
I still have a vague memory that I can find this judgment in this book at this page.
Wow.
So it helped those days.
Wow.
So I think those days had their own advantages. Not
Right.
that today's sources are so bad. I think today has speed is a great way of finding a judgment.
Right.
Last 20 years ago, if I had an important case, I'll have to prepare for it for a whole week. Now I don't have to.
Right. And the next question would be, sir, like almost it's been about 40 years since you started practicing law. So, like, I want to ask, like, how has the bar and the bench changed in the last 4 decades? Like, what do you observe?
So far as the bench is concerned, I'll start there. I think they've become more haughty. They've become more, they become less spirited towards the common man.
Right.
They're beginning increasingly to look at the common man with suspicion.
Right.
They begin to give the state the balance of doubt more than they should be giving.
Right.
And I think they've become more law oriented than
Okay.
sociology oriented.
I see.
I grew with the times of great judges like Krishna
Iyer, yeah.
Bhagavati,
Bhagavati.
Desai, Chinnappa Reddy, the greatest of them all.
Right.
Now they were all, you can't be a great judge without being a good sociologist.
Okay.
And to being a great sociologist,
Right.
you need to understand society, understand life.
Right.
Because after all, law is a part of social engineering.
Right.
And you can't be a good engineer of society if you've not understood social norms,
Right.
the economics of life, the politics of society.
Right.
And therefore today it's very easy for judges to look at the words of the law, forget the spirit of the law, and say this is what the law says and that's how I'm going to interpret it.
Right.
So that is a major paradigm shift I see in the judicial wing.
Right.
Insofar as the lawyers are concerned, I think today's lawyers are far smarter.
Right.
Far smarter.
Right.
Far more focused.
Right.
Far more intelligent than I was, at least.
Okay.
They do a great job as lawyers. They
Right.
give us the run for the money. They're better prepared.
Right.
They do their homework. They know what exactly they want from a court.
Right.
They plan their legal battle far better than we did.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And what kind of cases do you deal mostly right now?
I do everything except tax.
Everything except
Except
tax.
taxation.
And which courts do you appear usually?
Okay, there was this famous judge, one of our most successful lawyers, successful judges called Justice Subhashan Reddy.
Right.
He once said that your greatness lies in appearing right from the traffic constable right up to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So there's no court that I don't like to go to.
Right.
But I largely appear in criminal courts, civil courts, different high courts in the country.
Right.
I don't go to the Supreme Court. That I'm
Don't.
very sure of.
Okay.
And the reason I don't go to the Supreme Court is I'm too simple a man and they're too learned people.
Okay, so you're being very modest and humble. So coming to the next thing is like, are there any lawyers coming from the next generation from your family? Like anybody
No.
inspired by you?
No.
Okay. Okay. And my question is, how do lawyers impact society at large? Like what
Well,
impact
lawyers
they
impact
do?
society a lot by many things. Successful lawyers can begin impacting society by contributing from the loot that they get
Right.
for good social causes.
Right.
Lawyers can impact society by speaking out constantly on issues which are needed to be spoken about.
Right.
Lawyers impact society by taking stances at public platform, not just at what they argue in courts, because in courts they argue for money.
Right.
They're a very impact-making society. They're a very impact-making sector of society because people hear them out.
Right.
They naturally know the nuances of an issue better than most people do.
Right.
Therefore, I think they are doubtlessly an impact-making sector of society. They can make an impact.
Right.
And what better example than the 30s to the 40s when
Right.
most great lawyers of the country gave up their profession to being freedom fighters.
Hmm.
I don't know if today you can give up your profession. I don't think it is so easy to do
Right.
that. I can't.
Right.
My family lives on my bread and my butter, so
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
But surely they can balance these two into some manner and do something that will leave an impact.
Right. So my next question would be, sir, what responsibility does the senior lawyers or the senior bar has on the young lawyers? Like I have seen that you mentor young lawyers a lot. Like I have heard from different lawyers. Like so how would you see, like what is the responsibility the senior?
See, I'm not very sure if there is a clear-cut role anywhere for
Okay.
anybody mentoring anybody else.
Right.
The Mahatma put it so beautifully. He said, "Be the change you want to see around you."
Right.
So I think you just have to be yourself. I think you need to be a proper lawyer. You
Right.
need to do your work properly so that people will see you as a normal example. I don't think I'm a great lawyer. I'm a very
Right.
mediocre lawyer.
Right.
I'm not a big success story. I'm a very ordinary
Right.
person. And if people still think I'm doing good, I think it's their goodwill, it's their niceness to me.
Right.
And if they're learning from examples, so be it.
Right. Okay. Sure. And my next question is, a lot of juniors like who just get enrolled, like they are paid peanuts. Someone is paid 0,000, someone is paid 5,000, someone is paid 10,000. So like, is there anything like you have any ideas to uplift this salaries or pays to them? Like,
See, now there are 2-3 ways of looking at the whole story.
right.
I was paid not even peanuts.
Right.
And what happens when you're not even paid peanuts is there's a hunger in the belly
Right.
that gets passion in the heart.
Right.
That's one way of looking at the whole thing.
Right.
मैं आज भी पे के हुए पैसे नहीं लेता हूँ. So that's one way of looking at the whole story.
Right.
You don't cushion the life of a professional.
Right.
You make a choice. You want a cushion life, go live as a solicitor, make your good amount of money, end up with a clerical life that you want to. That's a choice
Right.
you make.
Right.
Now, what could happen in this dilemma is that lawyers who have economic backing, I know of a Supreme Court judge who was once our Chief Justice, called me to his chamber and said this profession is not meant for people who are first generation lawyers or who
Right.
don't come from very rich families.
Right.
Now, I would like to believe that I proved him partly wrong.
That was your reaction or response?
Partly wrong, because I know that people who came with the silver spoon in their mouths have a distinct advantage over me, and they are
Right.
doing far better than I. I haven't done badly. I don't think I would have done with my kind of inefficiency and moderate skill sets.
Right.
I wouldn't have done even this much anywhere else. So good enough. One, two. How a person earns either money, goodwill, reputation, social acceptance are all based on where you position yourself, how you position yourself, how you work towards it. And thoda sa kismat.
A bit of luck. My next question is regarding what do you say? There is a debate on foreign lawyers getting entry into India, so it's being debated a lot. Like your thoughts on that, sir?
Oh, frankly, I believe that it's not a great idea of getting foreign lawyers into
Okay.
India. And I have reasons for it. One is I think we are a very ethnically we are an ethnically negative society.
Mm-hmm.
We have this great awe for anything that comes from the West.
Right.
It's not that they are superior, but we give them an aura as a consequence of which I think genuine talent in this country can fail. One. Two, we already suffer from this huge hangover.
Right.
The people who know the English language know everything, which is not
Right.
true at all.
Right. True.
I have a great example of being a beneficiary of this theory, that just because I know English, I'm a good lawyer. Which is
Right.
not.
Right.
I may know a little English better than some of my colleagues do, but I'm a far less lawyer than many of my colleagues are.
Right.
But this image that he's a good lawyer because he knows English sticks.
Right.
Now this is going to enlarge n number of times as a consequence of which I
Right.
don't know if it's the right thing.
Right.
But if you're going to get people from third world countries as foreign lawyers into this country, it's a good idea.
Right.
Because then we will have something to compete with, something to fight with,
Right.
globalize our concerns, and it will also create an Indian market for lawyers to go out, not just in India, but go to other third world countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, those kind of countries.
Right.
I have no problems with lawyers coming in and going out of those kind of countries.
Right.
But if it's the affluent first world countries, then I have a problem, because first world country lawyers come with, I am telling you, and very soon, judges will begin to say, oh, he's telling me, बुरा वाला बोल रहा है, अगर मैं उसकी बात नहीं मानूंगा तो गलती मेरी होगी.
Right.
So this is something that I'd like to avoid.
Something with our
Yeah.
social psychology.
Correct.
Like some people have argued for this getting these foreign lawyers into India is like some countries like the US, UK, like they allow the people who study there the LLB
Come on,
or
let's not go to US
Yeah.
and UK for
Yeah.
every example. US and
Right,
UK.
yeah.
Why don't we follow the traffic rules of US and UK
Okay,
first?
yeah. They allow Indian lawyers to practice
let's,
there.
Let's learn their sense of environment as a priority in society first.
Right.
We'll come to lawyers later.
Right.
Let's do these two things first.
Right.
Let's get their concept of power, water, road safety, and traffic.
Right.
Let these four, and real operative democracy. Let's get these 5 things first in place from UK and US, then we'll do the rest.
That would be your answer to those people
Yes.
giving that thing. Okay, what are your comments on the recent right to privacy, bill, or I mean to say the judgment from the Supreme Court?
I think the Supreme Court has still not come up with the complete
Right.
judgment on the right
Right.
to privacy. Right to privacy is there. After all, Article 21 is right to privacy. But then,
Right.
having said that, I would also like to say that the private man's public life is public property. Public man's private life is public property. Today, if an Anushka Sharma gets married to a great cricketer of the country,
Right.
people are bound to talk about it. People are bound to say she was wearing a lovely
Right.
mall. lehenga. You can't say the people are making sexist statements because
Right.
she's wearing a nice
Right.
leather.
Right.
You know, the other day I saw pictures of various actors at their weddings, and I thought what Samantha was wearing was not as good looking as somebody else was, and I said so.
Right.
Now you can't call this a sexist statement because you are available for comment. If you don't want to be in comment, don't put your photographs up. Tell them that this is not for publication. That's the matter.
Right.
Now you can't be double-tongued. You can't say as long as the publicity I get is good, I'm very happy with it. The moment there is some criticism, it's my private life. Now this doesn't happen with the paparazzi that's growing. One.
Right.
Two, private life of a private citizen, I think is very, very important, and the citizen is entitled to saying, you don't need to know what my sexual preferences are, you don't need to know what my eating habits are, you don't need to know where I go, what I do, how I live. I think that's important. And any government that is making this aspect of life difficult by some kind of a regimentation, saying you must have a card that connects you to every habit of yours, and through this everybody will come to know what all you are doing. I think that's a dangerous scenario. That's heading towards fascism, and we must call halt.
So do you oppose the Aadhaar card?
Yes, I do.
Okay, sir. So how about the recent triple talaq judgment? Maybe you have read it.
I've read it.
What is your comment on that?
See, I have a problem with any judgment that is vertical.
Right.
I'm sure, I've read in the judgment which says that Islam itself did not provide for triple talaq. So I don't know whether it didn't. But then, to read Article 14 and Article 14 into minority rights is a very sensitive area.
Right.
And the ease with which the Supreme Court does it these days, like any other judgment, you just say triple talaq is done away with, may be difficult.
Right.
I strongly believe that there must be a social movement against triple talaq.
Okay.
And the entire Muslim community must stand up and say, we do not want to recognize triple talaq as a form of talaq.
Right.
But to take it to the next level and say anybody who does triple talaq will get a 3-year imprisonment, I'm not with it.
You're not with it.
No, I'm not.
And what are your views on the failure of demonetization, like the way it has hurt people, like, any
Two things.
Right.
My knowledge with economics is way behind, so I'm talking about it strictly as a common man.
That's great.
I'm told that the main idea of doing away with demonetization was doing away with black money, and that purpose has not been served.
Right.
We have statistics all over the place to tell us that not even a small margin of black money has been done away with.
Right.
One. Two, I also have a belief that these kind of big drama, small effect changes of an economy may not get us the result immediately.
Right.
Come on, how does 2000 do away with black market instead of 1000? Because all the 1000s were connected. How much 1000 have you not collected in the context of the black market that we have in the country? Hardly anything.
Right.
I was shocked at the manner in which people were suffering during the period of demonetization. If the same thing happened with a private sector, what will courts do?
Right.
Why did they tolerate the government to do it? Is my question, and I don't find an answer.
Right.
Today there are companies like Subrato's company.
Yeah, Subrata.
He's not able to pay money. You put him in jail because his money he's not able to give hard cash to his customer. That's what the government could not do for 6 months. How are we different?
Right.
If the government could not pay back cash to its people, and you let go of it and you winked at it, how can a private man be found fault with?
Right. Right.
I think there's a huge doublespeak here, there's a huge social hypocrisy, and we need to break it.
Right.
And this is not to say that I have anything in principle against demonetization. I have nothing.
Okay. The next question is, a lot of governments, what do they do is they give promises that they will bring some policies and all. So should governments be penalized or prosecuted for failed schemes or those schemes which they have not implemented?
I think the best thing is, I believe in the parental theory that every people get the government they deserve. If we were stupid enough to go and vote for a government which says, I'll give you prestige cookers and televisions, we deserve that government. It's very easy today nowadays for everything to blame the government and then say they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and therefore they need to pay. One, two. I think this Islamia medical, one of those cases of medical colleges or engineering colleges, Supreme Court said this cross subsidy is bad.
Okay.
It's not acceptable.
Okay.
You can't ask the rich man to pay for the poor man's school fee, college fee.
Right.
But then we live in a welfare society, and in a welfare society, money has to come from somewhere, and therefore money comes from the rich man's taxation process to the poor man's house.
Right.
But where and how do you draw the line is a difficult question.
Right.
I'll give you power, maybe yes. I can give you drinking water, maybe yes.
Right.
I can give you food at a subsidized price, maybe yes.
Right.
But I'll give you television, I'll give you a car, I'll give you good this, I'll give you good that. I think it takes the promise too far. One.
Right.
Having said that, you must also realize that today even things like subsidized diesel and subsidized petrol
Right.
is what the common man gets, and yet India pays the highest petrol charges and diesel charges compared to any other South Asian country. We pay more than Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, any other country. So I think the government is making enough money out of all this. But to answer the larger question, I would think that in a welfare state, the government, popularly elected government, has a right to making popular promises
Right.
and keeping up to the popular promises. If they don't keep up to the popular promise, they go back to the voter, and the voter's intelligence. If the voter is stupid, he'll come back to power, and then the people deserve it.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Could you just introduce what PIL is and what kind of PIL cases you have been involved with, one or two cases and all,
There is, when you're not
for the general audience.
when the public, traditionally a case is filed by a man who's aggrieved by something that happens to him that hurts him.
Right.
My neighbor has stolen my property, so I go and file a police complaint.
Right.
Or he has encroached into my property, then I go and file a civil suit.
Right.
Or the government, I'm in a government service and I don't get promotion, I go and file a case.
Right.
Or my taxation is higher, collects more tax than I should be paying, so I go and file a case against the income tax department. There are traditional cases. Sometime in the 60s in India, and before that in the United States of America, public causes started being championed by people.
Right.
For example, today the popular issue is environment.
Right.
Now, when I say that we don't have enough drinking water because trees are being cut,
Right.
or in summer I get enough drinking water, but I know of colonies that don't get water. I represented Lubna 2 years ago in a matter where in various areas near Osmania University there was no drinking water. So I filed a writ petition and said, forget all the law, please ensure that they get drinking water.
Right.
And they did get drinking water,
Right.
thanks to the case. So now that is an example of public interest litigation,
Right.
where the litigation has nothing to do with my interest, but the interest of the public. That's
Right.
how it started. Now I've done a few public interest litigation cases, like when Hyderabad Alvin was closed, I appeared for the employees.
Sorry, Hyderabad?
Alvin, the bus and watch company.
It's called
was
Alvin.
closed, Alvin.
Okay. Yeah.
When that was closed, I was appointed as a lawyer for the workers. I appeared in that matter.
Right.
I've appeared for the girl Anuradha or somebody on whom acid was thrown in
Right.
the agriculture university.
Right.
I recently appeared in the matter with regards to the KBR park.
So you mean to say a PIL can also be filed if a person is individually or privately aggrieved? It doesn't need to be a public cause.
No, what will happen is the moment you file it on their behalf.
Right.
Now, in this matter, for example, Anuradha's fire accident of fire on the face.
Right.
In that matter, the court itself read the article and took it up as a public interest litigation.
Right.
And that is how the matter was heard.
Right.
And there I was appointed as the lawyer to argue the matter. So as long as you are not personally interested in the matter and you are the petitioner in the matter, it's a
Right.
PIL case.
It is a PIL case or PIL. It is called. So, how would this be differentiated? What would be the demarcation of a public and private case?
Surely today it's so clear
Right.
that if you have any personal interest in the matter connected with which you are arguing, it can't be a PIL case.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I was appearing in a matter for a lawyer
Right.
who has challenged the constitution of the Backward Classes Commission in Andhra Pradesh.
Right.
Now, the judge said, you appeared before the commission, you argued against the inclusion of a certain community, so you had a personal interest in the matter, so we won't hear you.
Right.
Let somebody else come on the same issue, we will hear them.
Oh, I see.
So that's a textbook example of what is public and
Right.
private interest.
Right. Like for example, like you see, sir, like there's a government at all places, okay, and there's an opposition there. So generally, a opposition leader or the list of leaders would be aggrieved with some things of done by the government. Of course, they will file PILs. So by filing these PILs against the government by the opposition would be construed as having some advantage for the opposition too.
See, two things. Courts have also tried to see whether they are politically involved litigation. They call that politically involved.
And if there's genuinely a problem.
And also sometimes judges say, well, this is a question you can go and raise in the assembly. Why are you coming to us?
Right.
You're a member of a political party. You can go and do a dharna. You can go and do something else.
Right.
So it depends very often on the mindset of the judge who's hearing the matter. Sometimes it can be the issue itself. For example, let's take an MLA. Let's take an MLA from the old city.
Right.
Typically, suppose he raises an issue with regards to child trafficking.
Right.
I don't think the court will say you're an opposition leader, go and talk about it in the assembly.
Right.
But suppose he raises an issue with regards to municipal rights.
Right.
So go and say it in the assembly.
Right.
So it depends what the issue is, how sensitive the judge who's hearing the matter.
Right.
Golden rules here.
Golden rules here. Okay. So I would try to put some light on some of the cases you took. Like what I have learned is you have taken the cases of Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy, I think, the chief minister in late 90s and early 2000s.
Yes.
You were taking a lot of his cases. I think were they filed against Chandrababu Naidu?
See, in fact,
How was the association?
I'll tell you. I've not met Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy.
Okay. But you represented him in the court.
I did represent him because I was with Mr. S. Ravichander Rao.
Okay.
And I assisted him in drafting those writ petitions and
Okay.
prepared many of those writ petitions for him. And that is how I appeared on record for Mr. Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy.
Oh, I see.
Having said that, I must also tell you
Right.
that I appeared against Mr. Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy for Chandrababu Naidu.
Oh, I see.
So the cycle was complete. Very interestingly, when I was appearing for Rajshekhar Reddy,
Right.
I'd never met him. And when I was appearing against Chandrababu Naidu, I used to meet him regularly, have a chat with him, tea with him. I would drive with him in the car. We had some activity going on together.
Wow.
So we knew each other at a personal level, and I think it was greatness of the then Chief Minister that he knew I was doing that, but he kept that and this apart. I've appeared for 3 different Chief Ministers. I appeared for Karunanidhi in a case against Session for...
In Tamil Nadu?
No. Yeah, the matter was transferred by the Supreme Court. Yes,
Okay,
so I appeared
okay.
here. So, while I did appear for YSR and for Chandrababu Naidu, I don't think I had any political connect with either of them.
Okay.
With both of them, they couldn't have made me from Adam.
Okay. Which political party do you like? Do you like it or have some bias
That I will
or something?
say. That I will say with a vote in the closed echelons of a polling booth.
Okay. You don't like any party.
My wife complained. She says, Ravi, I've been married to you for 36 years. I still have no clue which political
You haven't
party
even
you
shared
vote.
it with your wife.
No, I haven't.
Amazing. So my next question is courts are there for solving disputes. That's the basic rule. So whenever people have disputes, what is the at what point should they go to the court for litigation, or there's a thing called ADR coming up, right? Arbitration and some other things coming up. So what should a client choose? What
See,
is
I would always believe that the last thing you must do is go and put your money with the lawyer and the judge.
okay,
That must be your last resort.
right?
In fact, even as you were setting up the camera for talking, I was talking to somebody who had a problem. I was telling her, why should you all fight out? आखिर में वकील अमीर होता है, आप लोगों की problem sort out नहीं होती है.
Okay.
So, I strongly believe that if 2 people can put their heads together, they can sort out any problem. For example, when people come to me with matrimonial matters, for example, I try to sort it out before going to court. I invariably tell them it's much easier sorting it out here than fighting it out there.
Right.
So I think compromises are always better.
Right.
And a very learned judge of our High Court once told me, Ravi,
Right.
the best compromise is
Right.
when every party to the compromise is dissatisfied. That means everybody knows that they've lost something. If one party is very happy, it means he's got something more than what he deserves.
Okay.
So I think thoda sa, give up a little, thoda bahut de
Give
do.
some balance. Okay. So the next thing is like, sir, like Mr. Ravichandran was appointed as I think advocate commissioner in the I think Makamaji, the
Bomb
accused
blast, yeah,
bomb
bomb.
blast case, and I think it's a kind of a human rights case where you dealt with that. Could you put some light on that, and what was your role, and what did you find in that?
See, what happened was, there were two bomb blasts, one at the Gokul Chat and one at Lumbini, and this happened immediately after the Makkah Masjid.
Right.
And there was a typical profiling of a whole group of youngsters saying that they were terrorists.
Right.
The AP Minority Welfare Commission appointed a one-man commission to go into allegations made that these boys were whisked away, put in jail, third-degree methods were used against them to get confessions, etc., etc.,
Right.
as being part of a larger terrorist group.
Right.
Now, I was supposed to go and see whether these allegations were true or not.
Right.
And I submitted a report. I submitted an interim report within 48 hours after my appointment.
Right.
And then a detailed report later. But most of my findings were in the interim report because it was urgent.
Right.
And I found that a lot of truth was said
Right.
in the allegations. I don't remember the nuances now. It's more than a decade ago.
Right.
And I did find at that point of time that third-degree methods were indeed used on the youngsters.
Third degree. Okay.
I had also taken a forensic expert with me to the jail. I saw that their private parts were injured.
Okay.
They were traumatized.
Traumatized.
The kind of stories that they were saying was so spine-chilling and consistently the same. And though each one of them was staying in a separate cell, and each one tells me almost a very similar story about how they were, how the late night knocks on the door, how they were taken, where they were taken, how they were treated. Told me a very ghastly story, and I gave my findings.
Right. Sir, were you offered the High Court judgeship anytime?
Why are you asking this question? I think
Okay.
it's too academic.
Oh, to academic. Okay, and the next thing is like how are senior counsels made? Like Mr. Ravichandran has been designated, I think in the year
What?
2012.
I think so.
Right, that's what I remember reading. So, like, how are they made, sir? Like, how are senior counsels
Senior
made?
advocates are appointed by a voting pattern which requires 2/3 majority of all the sitting judges in a meeting held at the High Court.
Okay.
This is more difficult than becoming High Court judge. For a High Court judge, only first 3 judges need to realize.
Right.
So they have some basic levels. You must have practiced for so many years, you must be above 45, you
Right.
must have this much income tax, you must have so many reported judgments.
Right.
And after that they all sit down, and after that your names are shortlisted from
Right.
an application that you give.
Right.
And then they have a voting pattern. Now I think the Supreme Court has laid down even more strict rules last year.
Right, right. So there was a debate on this topic brought by Miss Indra Jaising.
Yes.
Like, what I have seen is like, the basic rule which says about designating someone as senior is you should have minimum 10 years of a splendid, legal experience and a lot of notable cases. The thing is like we have exceptions like Swaraj Kaushal, I think he's the husband of Sushma Swaraj, I guess, no? He was designated a senior advocate of Supreme Court at the age of 34.
Please understand.
Right.
Why Suraj Kaushal?
Yeah.
We're not taking names.
Yeah.
I think in all political parties. I've known of people at 42 becoming High Court judges.
Right.
Huh?
So,
he was no Lord Denning.
okay.
So what happens is we run a very vertical feudal system in our country.
Still, wow.
Of course we do, don't we?
Oh,
Family after family after family. Father is chief minister, son is minister.
Right.
Father is prime minister, son is minister. Mother is Congress party president, son becomes
Right.
party president.
Sure.
It's not true. It's not true only about political party.
Only one thing.
The greatest showman's
Actors.
son can be maverick. He can be a great actor, but he
Yeah.
can throw the press out and yet people go and buy his autobiography,
True.
and then his son is talked of as the
Yeah.
big time actor of our times.
Right.
So, nepotism is
Rampant.
congenital in our society, so I don't find it wrong.
Right.
And I don't think the wrong example sets the rule.
Right.
See, frankly, I think I'm enjoying my position as a
Right.
senior counsel, and
Right.
I'll be a hypocrite if I say they should not be senior counsels.
Right.
Of
Right.
course, they should be senior counsels because they have certain privileges. They are taken more seriously. Their arguments. They have a greater social responsibility to the bar, to the bench. When a senior counsel says something, the bench takes him far more seriously because
Right.
he says it with a certain sense of responsibility.
Right.
So yes, there should be senior counsels. How do you do it? Do you make errors? Of course, you make errors. You make errors in choosing people as wicket keepers sometimes. I remember Sourav Ganguly had a problem and had a wicket keeper from West Bengal, I don't remember his name, who was not a great wicket keeper, but for
Right.
some strange reason. A great cricketing man like Sourav had a hang-up for Dinesh somebody, a middle order batsman who
Right.
scored 100 against New Zealand and Hyderabad, I remember. Great bat.
Right.
So you make these mistakes, but these mistakes don't prove the rule. On the other hand, if you look at Sourav Ganguly, he was the man who made a Zahir, he was the man who made
Right.
Harbhajan, he was the man who made so many other cricketers in
Right.
this country. So one error doesn't make us...
Right, right. So that was the contention by Ms. Indra Jay Singh on that. Sir, the next question is like in June 2017, I think you represented Sultan Ulum Educational Society. Okay, there were some complaints by some people against them in the All India Center for Technical Education and other stuff, which what do you say, temporarily suspended their admission procedure, admission things. So how could you put some light on that case? And you got a favorable order and a stay for the big society. It has more than 11,000 students.
Factually, I don't remember the nuances of the matter,
Right.
but I can tell you this much.
Right.
I have an nodding experience with the manner in which the All India Council of Technical Education
Yeah.
has been working in this country, and it's less said the better.
Right.
If technical education in this country, engineering colleges, and I'm not meaning Sultan Ulum,
Right.
lots of private engineering colleges in this country break law with impunity.
Right.
But they break law with impunity because their policing institution, the ICT,
Right.
is bunkum.
Right.
They don't do their work properly.
Right.
They don't act with responsibility.
Right.
They change their parameters the moment they like somebody or they don't like somebody.
Right.
And I remember in this, they had taken a V-turn. A few years ago, they said
Right.
that for certain reasons, we are not going to take somebody's complaint, and this college will continue independent of the civil litigation that they have a few years ago.
Right.
Few years later, for the same reason, they turned around and said, no, there's a civil litigation. Your possession of the property is not acceptable. Therefore, we will not grant you.
Right.
So this shows lack of credibility in the policing institution of technical education, and
Right.
therefore it loses its sting.
Right. So one more case, I think what I came to know is like you were against the 4% reservation, or you were representing someone who wants to oppose the 4% reservation.
Okay.
Someone
Now,
reported
I
that.
always represent.
Okay.
I'm never for or against.
Okay.
anybody.
Okay.
I represent. a
You
cause.
represented. Okay.
And I have a huge problem with reservations in this country.
Okay.
Should there be reservations in this country? Yes. I have no doubts about that.
Okay.
Should it be based? I think there's too much of politics in reservations in this country.
Mhm.
Babu Jagjeevan Ram's daughter gets reservation in this country.
Oh.
Was that the idea of the constitution?
Right.
No, I'm not taking it. I'm not taking this example as a textbook. I'm saying the whole idea of reservation was to ensure that social disability is erased. Is
Right.
social disability being erased by the manner of its application? My answer to it is a screaming no. Today, government says I'll give 4% reservation, another government says 7%, another government says 12%. किसकी बाप का जागीर है? We don't seem to look at it like that.
Right.
And understand, today if you're taking a certain community and saying I'm going to reserve this much for the community,
Right.
you're taking this entire community away from the mainstream of society.
Right.
Mainstream thinks that this group is
Right.
getting an advantage, therefore they are not a part of me. It becomes me versus they instead of it becoming us.
Right.
It's a divide and rule policy.
Right.
It is here that I find I'm against it.
Okay, sir. So the next question would be what message would you want to give to young lawyers, upcoming lawyers?
No messages here. I'm too small.
What should they do? What are the qualities they have to?
Be themselves, be spirited,
How to become
enjoy
successful?
life. Enjoy life, be honest to yourself.
Okay. Okay.
I hate giving messages.
Okay, one more question, sir. Like, if a senior, as you said about, the bench will give a bit more, years to a senior counsel. So, like, as you said, you argued a case on the first day of your enrollment. So, if a person is in the first or second year of his enrollment and there's a designated senior, and if the both guys have very strong points, how would the, bench, tilt
Well,
towards?
in my days, they'd give us more value. The youngster got a lot more value. I remember judges during when we were youngsters, "Bacha bol raha hai, sunenge usko." They'll encourage us. They'll give us a
Right.
nicer order for a short while and say, "Dekhenge kya hone ka hai."
Right.
Today it doesn't happen like that. They go strictly by what the law says. They have no sense of saying, let's encourage the next generation. They just go by what is. Today I keep saying this every time. For example, today there is Shreyas Iyer and Virat Kohli.
Right.
And Shreyas Iyer plays a great role. I think the media must talk more about Shreyas than about Virat, because Virat has arrived. Shreyas needs the encouragement. 5 more sentences about Shreyas will help Indian cricket. Forget Shreyas Iyer, it will help Indian cricket.
Right.
Similarly, today, if a young Rajkumar Rao's film does better than Amir Khan,
Right.
or if Rajkumar Rao acts better than acts well in a film, I think you need to talk more about Rajkumar Rao.
Right.
Then you have to talk about Amir Khan, because that will help the industry. This is how industries grow,
Right.
because they are the tomorrows of this industry.
I
They
see.
are the torch bearers.
Right.
They need the encouragement.
Right.
Unfortunately, today in our legal system, that is not being done. It's the youngster is not getting that space that
Right.
we youngsters got.
Wow.
I had a great advantage. I had lawyers, judges encouraging us because we were youngsters. I don't
Right.
think it's happening today.
Okay. There's an upcoming lecture by you on, I think, the judicial
Tuesday
system
at
on Tuesday. So the date would be 19th of December
Yes.
2017.
Yes.
So what is this lecture about, sir?
Hey, I think you should come and hear me there.
Yeah, we will come and hear you so that people would.
It's
be
about
interested.
the growing crisis in the Indian judiciary, and believe me, I haven't put my mind on it yet.
Okay. So this is on 19th December 2017. And what is the location, sir?
Lamakan.
Lamakan. Lamakan is a place where a lot of social events happen. This is in Banjara Hills, I think,
Yes.
Hyderabad. Okay. And finally, sir, the Babri Masjid, judgment is being, reserved next year. Some months back, the Supreme Court said that, go outside and do an out of court settlement, and now it's coming to a conclusion, hopefully. So, any thoughts on that by you, sir?
Well, arguably the most controversial question in the
Right.
country for half a century.
25 years, or yes,
No.
50 years, right?
Yes. I believe contemporaneous needs must get the better of historic facts.
Right.
I hope and trust that both communities will put their heads together.
Mm-hmm. Is it working? Stop.
I
Okay.
also believe that India has a great tradition for secular existence. The fact that after asking for a Ram Mandir, the political party that was in the lead of getting a Ram Mandir in the place did not do it in their 2 outings
Right.
in power, shows that they were using this either as a political agenda
Right.
or were sane enough not to push their advantage to the same.
Right.
Either which way, it is good for the society,
Right.
and I hope and trust
Okay.
that the powers that be of both the communities
Right.
will put their hearts,
Right.
soul and heads together and come to the conclusion that religion is not about places of worship,
Right.
because finally the place of worship is your heart.
Right.
Don't go around demolishing that place.
Right.
And if you don't demolish the place of God, your
Right.
heart,
Right.
then where God exists in the external doesn't make a huge difference.
Right. Final question, sir. Like a lot of people have spoken on that. Sir's, youthful exuberance belies his age, and he's young and dashing still with 4 decades of legal experience. A lot of people have commented on social media about him. So, what is your tip, or what is your secret by which you maintain your this thing?
I don't know anything. I actually no. I've never thought old.
Yeah. Yeah. Age is just a number.
Age is just a number. Surely age is just a number, but it sounds very cliched.
Right.
I think, frankly, I am what I am physically, not because I've done anything.
Right.
It's just luck. It's
Right.
just luck.
Just luck.
I've done nothing much. So just be lucky. Yes, the only thing you can do is, for example, being physically fit
Right.
is if you must need to be a little more conscious if you're putting on weight and things like that.
Right.
And understand that you should not put on too much weight. It's
Right.
not very difficult to lose it at one stage. Once
Right.
you put on too much, then it becomes difficult.
No getting back. Okay.
Yeah.
Really, thank you. We
Thanks a
thank
ton,
Mr.
Mahboob. Thanks a ton.
L
Thanks a ton.
Ravichander,
I
sir,
feel
for giving his important
Privileged
time,
to have had
pre-
such a long conversation.
precious time to us, and keep watching this program called Meeting with Mahboob. And thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming on
Mahboob.
this show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.